Good afternoon, friends. It's Heidi M. sitting virtually with Eric Bizzarri this afternoon. Nice to chat with you, Eric.
Nice to chat with you as well. Thanks for having me.
So, Eric, you are the co-founder and CEO of the Future of Film Showcase, based here in Toronto, Canada. Let's talk a little bit about yourself first and how you came to be part of this excellent festival.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, thanks again for having me. Yeah, Future Film Showcase. It started off as it was a small collective of friends, I guess, that sort of got together and decided that they wanted to showcase films by students across the GTA and Toronto and the GTA, and that was like in our first few years.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it sort of evolved was it ended up becoming a not-for-profit organization that now operates as an annual film festival. And actually, so our mandate is fostering the future of emerging Canadian filmmakers. So now we have filmmakers from across Canada submitting to us and screening at the festival, which is nice.
That's quite interesting. And it's been how many years now? Around 11 or so? Is this the
This is,
year?
yeah, so this is the 11th year. So last year we celebrated our 10-year anniversary, which was a huge trip. Honestly, that was something that you look back on the way that this festival started, and
Mhm.
the way that everything has sort of evolved from then, and you go like, have we really been doing this for 10 years? This is insane. And I guess it doesn't feel like it when you're having fun.
Well, I mean, that's also a good sign, right?
Yeah.
To you and your team of, organizers and programmers. So you mentioned that you started out with, up and coming filmmakers like student filmmakers, and now it's expanded to all of Canada. So given that expansion, what does the programming look like these days so that people understand sort of, the festival is going to run from June 20th to the 23rd. So it seems like a few days, but there's a lot happening.
For sure. Yeah. So there's 4 days, 4 full days of programming. We have our opening night is our short film block. So we have our opening night short films. We also have an industry panel taking place right before the short films that discusses has panelists sort of discussing how we seek equitable productions and how we achieve equity on various productions, and that's moderated by Yasmin Kanji, who's the advocacy lead at BIPOC TV and Film, and she's also one of our advisory board members. So she's moderating that panel. Then we have our opening night shorts program, which feature, I believe it's 10 shorts in total in the program.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of them are world premieres, including a new film from Sundance alumni Maziar Khatam and Anya Chirkova. It's called The Sweater. It's a comedy. And so we have our shorts program, and then after that we have our opening night party. But then following that, so on the 21st, we're celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day as well as Pride Month. And
Right.
so we partnered with the Canadian Academy as well as the Imaginative Film Festival
Mm-hmm.
to present a program of Indigenous short films, as well as a panel sort of bringing together folks that identify as Indigenous and identify as queer, and so they're going to come together on a panel and discuss the sort of the intersection of indigeneity and queerness.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then following that, there's more films on the Sunday. We have a
Right.
world premiere of a feature film called Data from a director Aaron Poole, known a lot for his acting work, but this is his directorial debut, and we have the world premiere of this feature film on the closing night.
That sounds great. I'm a fan of Aaron's work. I've met him in the past, and I'm kind of curious about this film as well. So I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
giving that
it's
plug
cool.
for friends that it's nice to have a premiere like that in Toronto.
Yeah.
Um, so it sounds like there's also a lot of alliances with communities across different organizations in the city. Would you say that this sort of another way that the festivals has expanded over the year in terms of who you're partnering with and also the amount of submissions that you're getting?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, for to sum it up, I guess it's really like it's not only a film festival with film screenings, right? Because you could get a bunch, you can have films from filmmakers, and that's
Mhm.
great. But we've also expanded considerably our industry program, and so
Right.
we have folks from all different walks of life that sort of come in with different backgrounds and different experiences because we want our audience to feel we want them to feel like they can learn something from this, right? We want them to feel like they could learn something, but then we
Hmm.
could also like entertain them through films and movies, that stuff. So
Hmm.
yeah, we've partnered with organizations like I mentioned, Imaginative,
Hmm.
the Academy. We've also partnered with like the DGC Ontario, Fay Pictures, Canada Media Fund. Like we've partnered with all of these organizations who are doubling down on their efforts to be able to inspire the next generation of emerging Canadian filmmakers. And so that's what we have a hand in doing now. And new this year as well, we also designed a pitch competition.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So with that pitch competition, we essentially said like, hey, we've had 10 years of doing this. What's the next stage? Like what's the next step? And the next step that made sense to us was to reinvest our resources into the folks that have been supporting us for years.
Hmm.
And those people are our audience and our filmmakers, right? So it's like, let's reinvest our resources and actually, rather than just screening films, let's actually try to allow a film to go from script to screen. Let's be involved in actually helping that get to production. And once it gets to production,
Hmm.
we've had a hand in helping make that film happen.
Right. And you're mentioning the audience as well in what you're saying. So maybe for people who are of the general public who may not be filmmakers, there's a little bit of everything for everybody, it sounds,
Yeah.
where there's the film screenings for people like myself who are, I am connected to film in terms of the industry, but I don't make films, but I'm also a fan of films. And in terms of your industry programming, how does that work? Is that primarily aimed at filmmakers? And then some events are open to the public and some are not?
That's a good question. Yeah, all industry events are open to the public. So like every event we have at the festival is always open to the public. Again, if you're a filmmaker making films, you may be attracted to like specific panels over others or
Mm-hmm.
over people, but ultimately these panels are designed for people regardless of their expertise, regardless of their skill level,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of how many years or however long that they've been studying film. These panels are designed to say, hey, look, this is a safe and accessible space for you to come in and learn or even be reminded, right? So we've had people that, like people that have been working in the industry for years come out and speak or come out and attend and watch, because it's always nice to be reminded of what matters in this industry and sort of be reminded of our roots and how to go about them. So it's that's what the essence of our industry programming is connecting several people from various different organizations in Toronto's sort of multifaceted community, and being able to bring all these people together and go, what can we chat about that people may not already know about, or
Right.
people already know about, but stuff we could expand on.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that comes to mind, for example, is like we knew this year we have a panel called with the DGC Ontario. We have a panel called the director editor about director editor relationships.
Right.
So for anyone that works in either field, or maybe emerging directors that are like, how do I communicate with an editor? Like,
Mm-hmm.
only editor that I've ever worked with is someone that, I went to film school with, and now maybe they're not even editing anymore. And now I have to find like, how do I sort of build and mold those kind of relationships? And so that's what that panel's for, right? And that panel is to essentially help to educate emerging filmmakers about those relationships and the key synergies in those. Another panel that comes to mind, for example, is like our web and TV program,
Right.
where aside from our film programming, we also have the pilot episodes of 3 different series
Mm-hmm.
play. The creators from each series come in and do a talk. and we play the show. They do a bit of a talk and they discuss what it was like to sort of make the show. We have some actors from a show participating. We have some producers, creators, that so forth. And that panel is essentially unlocking a different part of the industry that I don't really see at other festivals. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
festivals are mostly sort of, they stick to one lane and one type of programming. But what we're doing with this panel, co-presenting with the Canada Media Fund, is having a panel again that brings web series into the mix. It's like, I've made a short film. I might not be interested in features, but I'm interested in web series. How do I get there?
Right. Yeah, and I think with web series, there's always audiences that are open to formats in that sense too. I mean, a lot of us are on our devices often, so they're easy to engage with, I
To
think.
address exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So it sounds like it's, I like that you mentioned that it's also open to the public, because the one thing I would say for anybody who's going to watch this is that you learn a lot, even just as somebody who may not be involved in making films, about how films are made and the actual work that goes into it. And it's never just, the director that is the driving force. There's always a lot of teamwork that goes behind the scenes all the time.
Yeah,
So I always
absolutely.
like panels.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, like that's our goal, right? Our goal again is to not only give our audience the opportunity to be entertained, but to also be educated and to also let them know about maybe different aspects of the film industry they may not otherwise have heard about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially because as you said, you are focusing on the Canadian film industry, and I think a lot of the information that we get sometimes is from the external markets, and it's kind of nice to learn about what happens here on the ground. And there's a lot of work that does happen
Yeah.
um, across Canada, so it's nice to hear that there's a lot of interest as well in terms of who's kind of participating in your panels this year.
Thank you.
Um, I noticed that you also have some awards. What the
Yeah.
Rice are? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So new this year, we've designed a Rising Star Award. And this Rising Star Award is presented to an individual or individuals in this case that it sort of, embody the essence of what it means to be an emerging filmmaker, and also to those that serve as an inspiration to emerging filmmakers, right? To help them sort of learn and this year we're presenting these awards to Abon Jogia and Sarah Waysglass. And so I'm going to be moderating a conversation with them on June 23rd at 4:30 p.m. at the Paradise Theater in Toronto.
Nice, nice. Well, yeah. So for everybody, so they're aware, all the events are at the Toronto Paradise Theater. Is that right?
Yeah, so the majority of them are. So our industry, most of our industry panels are at Startwell Studios,
Mm-hmm,
which is at King of Niagara, so like 230 Niagara Street.
mm-hmm.
And those are on June 22nd. And then the 20th, 21st, and 23rd, we're at the Paradise Theater for screenings.
Excellent. It's good to know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for anybody who's curious, I will link to the festival website so you get all this information as well, and do the appropriate tagging. So, in terms of what you're looking forward to as a film fan and as an organizer of the festival, what are some of the things that you're really looking forward to this year?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm really looking forward to our opening night shorts program. This is something I look forward to every year because the shorts that we have all have very different sort of eclectic natures. Like they all complement each other in a very unique way. Just, to shout out to our director of programming, Zach Goldkind, as well as our associate programmers, Winnie Wang, CJ Prince, and Andres Herrera, who each including myself, have sat in a cinema and sort of watched these together.
Mhm.
So the opening night shorts program is always a very interesting event to attend, but also I'm particularly very excited for people to experience our closing night feature. Like
Mhm.
this is something that it boasts a first time performance from Sierra Alexis, and then obviously the directorial debut of Aaron Poole, of course. James Gilbert, who plays her father in the film, is very, very good in it as well. And then with that, I'll also say again, like our web and TV screenings, because like our web
Mhm.
and TV screenings, I'm super excited for, because these are all series like Bria Mack Gets a Life is playing. just won the Canadian Screen Award for best comedy.
Mm.
The Drop, Aisha Evelina and Daniela Pagliarello, they sort of, you can tell I'm Italian. They created that show together, and Aisha won the CSA for her performance. And then Near or Far, which is like a very interesting sort of coming of age show. It was also in partnership, I believe, with Wattpad, and so they created this show, and it's from director Vanessa Magic, who's up and coming right now as well. And we're excited to share these web series, and again, give audiences a bit of a taste, a different taste. You know what I mean? People attend festivals, they watch films, they attend panels. Now coming into web series is going to be a very interesting shift. And then again, the last thing I'll say, just because it's our first time doing it, our Rising Star Award conversation. Like these are two people who have been working in the industry for a while now,
Yeah.
and have each had very, very unique experiences in their come up and like in coming up in the industry, both Canadian. Yeah, our Rising Star Award conversation as well.
Sounds like a lot to take in, but also a lot of fun. So again, it's the June 20th to the 23rd. And I meant to ask approximately how many films are you receiving in terms of your submissions? I'm always curious about how many, so that people get an idea of how much work has been done in Canada.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, every year it's been increasing, thankfully. This year we got in and around, I think we received in and around 500. And that's just short film submissions, like
Right?
in and around 500 submissions. For context, the Canadian submissions, I was told from TIFF this past year, were in and around 700. So like we're getting, we're in that sort of sphere, which is nice, but in and around 500 submissions is what we received this year.
Mm.
So that's
Yeah, it's surprising to me because I know it changes each year, but it just goes to show people that there's a lot of work being done in, like I said, in Canada, and hopefully we'll meet some new filmmakers that are going to become bigger stars as well.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, this festival has platformed very unique voices. Like Emma Seligman, for example, directed her first short and premiered it at our festival in 2018.
Mhm.
She just directed, Bottoms that released last year with Universal. Was it Universal or was it Warner Brothers? Oh, it was Warner Brothers. Sorry,
I
last
think,
year.
yes, it is. It's a good film, actually.
Yeah, no, she's great. So she's an alumni of the festival.
Mm.
Sophie Romberry, who's now directing her first feature this summer. Sophie Jarvis, who directed Until Branches Bend. Also Meredith Hama Brown, who just did Seagrass that came out recently. So it's like these, and Aziz Zaramba, who directed Simo, that I believe had won the Canadian Screen Award last year for Best Short Film. So again, it's like, we've platformed very, very unique voices, and I'm very grateful that we've been able to sort of, build this platform for filmmakers.
Hmm.
And a
Yeah, no,
platform that they
absolutely.
feel yeah, and a platform that they feel comfortable not only submitting to us, but also attending.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always a testament of I mean, in the city alone in Toronto, there are a lot of festivals, but it's a testament when filmmakers are really happy to support and come and engage with not just the film programmers, but also with the audiences that are at the festival. So it's always nice to see that. There's always a lot of competition, but it's always nice to be able to support. So I encourage people to go if it's like 1 or 2 days, it's a weekend. You can squeeze in a couple of panels and a film, I think.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you. And again, thank you for this opportunity to connect with your audience. I mean, again, like this is why we're here, right? Like
Mm.
Future Film Showcase has and always will be a platform that emerging filmmakers always feel safe to attend to. But also again, like they can meet like-minded filmmakers who are all there for the same reason, to watch and celebrate film.
Excellent. So we are going to link to the Future Film Showcase website, which is fofs.ca. And I'll tag the socials as well so people know where to follow and sort of follow along in terms of who's coming, who's participating. I know there's stuff on social media already so that people can engage with that content before the film festival starts. Thank you,
Fantastic.
Eric. It's great.
Thanks so much. Thank you.